Biggest takeaway from the Utah game was we're getting closer, but we're still not right. We're still not there yet. A lot of missed opportunities on defense with poor eyes and giving up explosive plays, which led to all their touchdown drives. And then offensively, just a couple turnovers. And a couple missed throws and a few penalties. If we take all that stuff out, it could be a different game. But as we all know, that's not how it works. So we got to make sure that we still hammer home details. We're going to talk about discipline all the time this week and make sure that everything we do is consistently to a high level of detail over and over and over again, so it doesn't come down to a couple plays that we lose. It comes down to those plays that we've done a million times in practice, and now they're showing up in the game. So we're taking steps in the right direction, but we need to take another big one this week in order to get after Temple. You look at them, and it says they're 0-3 on their schedule, but they played great competition. They almost beat Coastal Carolina last week, so they're playing really good football. A bunch of good athletes out there, and it's a long trip across the country for us, so we got to make sure we handle our own. So let's go with some questions.
Coach Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily. I want to ask about the defense and some of the improvements you're trying to make, because last 2 weeks you gave up 48 and then 38 points this last week. What are the things that are still missing on that defense that you guys got to get down?
I thought defense played really well. I mean, you're playing a team that's favored to win the Big 12. I mean, we held them to less than 4 yards of carry outside of one big run, but there is, unfortunately, too many explosive plays is our one takeaway. So we're really good 90% of the time, but those 10% is making us lose games right now. So especially with the teams we played, you have to consistently play good football. It's going to be amplified by the effect of how talented the opponents have been. So if we can get rid of that, right, and we can lock into our keys and do things to a more consistent manner, right, then you're going to get 4 good quarters of great football instead of 3.5 quarters. And right now, that's just not good enough.
Mark Greenwood with the Utah Statesman. Just wondering if you could give an injury update, namely Jalen and Kyrese, how they're doing.
But can't talk too much yet, but both have been running around on the mechanical bike this morning. So we'll probably know more so on them Thursday or Friday. I'll get you guys that info.
Mark Greenwood again. How about the quarterback situation this week? What are you thinking with that? Is Spencer looking good, or are we still going with Bryson?
Yeah, it looks good. We will find out. He was close to 100% last week, but just wasn't quite there yet. So haven't seen him yet this morning. But I would think that he's going to be practicing pretty close to full speed. So hopefully we will have him available, and that gives us 2 options right there. And we'll see who comes out with a better week of practice determine that. But hopefully, like I said, Spencer gets closer to 100% every single day. And if he does, then look out. I think teams will have two quarterbacks to prepare for that bring a whole different element to the offense.
Jason Walker again. I want to ask kind of a follow up on that with Bryce and him starting the last 2 games. If Spencer is healthy, how much of a competition is there between those two as far as who might get the start on Saturday?
Well, it's just the big thing is, I mean, Spencer came out of camp our starting quarterback, right? And he is our starting quarterback if he's 100%. So it's not so much, it's more so how close is Spencer and what he can physically do. Can he not run? Can he run? Is he only good in the pocket? So it's just what kind of offensive game plan we come up with and how it fits him in particular. But he's still our quarterback 1, but all that depends on his ankle, as we know.
Coach Patrick Mayhorn from the Ag Ship. You've got a good receiver to deal with this week in Dante Wright. What does he do well, and how do you kind of slow him down?
Yeah, the Colorado State transfer does a good job, does an unbelievable job. He's got a couple touchdowns on the year. He's a very crisp route runner. He's got 38 targets on the year, which is by far the most on that team, and that's who their quarterbacks look to as their first option. So we got to make sure we get hands on him early. We can't let him free release and work his secondary moves on our guys at 10 yards. So he's a huge vocal point for that offense as well as their tailback that they have. So they have plenty of weapons around him. They're only averaging 11 points a game right now, but that can change in a hurry if they keep getting 5 the ball.
Drylene, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what do you see from Temple offensively? They've done some good things, but, man, they've committed 11 turnovers in 3 games and no takeaways. So that minus 11 turnover margin has really been their biggest bugaboo. But when they haven't turned the ball over, what do you see from that offense?
Well, their quarterback, got hurt in the Navy game, so now they're playing two quarterbacks. Not sure which one's going to be in or not. One's a better runner, one's a better passer. So it's kind of where teams prepare for Utah State, which guy is going to be playing and how does that affect their offense. But they're close on some things. They're kind of like us. They have guys open. They just haven't been able to capitalize when they've needed to. So it's going to be, as always, we have to stop the run. We have to make sure that 5 doesn't beat us, and just more so fix our communication, fix our MAs on defense. And if we can do that, then we got a chance to be good.
Eric Franson with 106.9 The Fan. Speaking of Temple defensively, DJ Woodbury, senior, he had a monster game this last week. What do you see in him and generally about that Temple defense?
Well, yeah, they're gonna be a 4-man front. They love cover one. They love some quarter stuff. But the biggest thing is their speed. They are very, very, very fast. They have unbelievable athletes. Impressed with their defensive line play. So it's gonna be having to win your one-on-ones, kind of just like it was last week, right? So we got to make sure, one, our guys get healthy. Two, we're putting the ball in place where only our guys can get it to make sure we protect the football. And then if it is a wide box and they try to cover the outside guys, we have to be able to run. So our O-line is getting so much better, and they had a great back-to-back weeks with Razul averaging over 6 yards a carry for the last 2 games. So if we can continue to win our one-on-one matchups on the outside and keep our run game rolling as is, right, then our offense has a chance to really take off.
Riley and Jason Turner again. Yeah, I mean, like you said post game, you defended the run so well in the first quarter, quite well in the second quarter too. Utah really dominated time and possession. So was it more maybe they wore you down a little bit with their big offensive line in the second half, or do you think it was more of a missed assignments, missed execution type thing?
No, Jason, I think you're spot on. I think a little bit of both. That's obviously going to be the biggest offensive line and arguably the best that will play this year. And we probably should have kept rotating a little bit more. It's just hard when everything has to be so good to beat a team of that caliber. You trust your ones so much more in big games and in big moments. So it was hard to stay fresh. And kind of we're talking about time of possession, but at the same time, we still have to be able to get off the field. When you look at the game, we 3rd and short, they won just about every one, and 3rd and long, we won just about every one, right? And that was our emphasis, is winning 3rd down, but you have to win it on 1st down, right, to get it to 3rd and long. And we just couldn't hang long enough in that second half, and that's why you saw a lot of those drives, mainly in the second half as well.
Jason Walker again. You mentioned, Temple nearly beating Coastal Carolina, and that was kind of culmination of a few weeks of closing the margin of defeat they've had. They've gotten closer in every one of their losses. How much improvement do you expect to see from them this week that they've kind of shown in the first 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think you look at their identity, right? Just from the Oklahoma game to the Coastal Carolina game, they feel way more comfortable. They're more tuned in on what they want to do and the personnel that they're playing. And just like anybody, everyone's improving right now. It doesn't matter who you play. If as long as you're getting better than you were yesterday, you're always going to have a chance. And it's going to come down to how tough we want to be, how we handle this long road trip, right, and eliminating RMAs and stay out of our own way. And if we can do that, I think we're going to have a chance.
Just Eric Franson again. If you could speak about your opportunity to get back to Pennsylvania and some of the players who have east, for some of them, it's a big deal for this travel.
Yeah, that's what we talked about yesterday with the team was Razul's probably going to have over 200 to 300 fans alone, so he will be holding on down our side of the Utah State fans, as well as Clyde Washington, who lives right in that area. So it'll be good. College football now, you have players from all over the country, and sometimes those players never get family to come to games, and now it's an opportunity for both of those players to get in front of a huge family fan base for them. So it's going to be an exciting opportunity. And for the rest of us, we're going to be out on the other side of the country all alone. So it's got to be a deal where we bring our own energy, we come together and get ready to come out fighting.
Patrick Mayhorn with the Ag Ship again. How important is it that you go into this bye week that you've got next week with some progress that you've seen on the field, that you show up going into that bye week and you play well this week and can kind of carry that forward?
Patrick, from a confidence standpoint, it's absolutely everything, right? We need to be able to get to 2-2 before preparing for our Boise game right out of a bye. But even more so, We know we have guys injured, banged up right now. We're going to get back, so we may not be at full force this week, but we have to be able to continue to develop our depth as we move along, right? You are going to have to win games with your 2s and 3s, so this is another awesome chance for maybe some guys to get in before the bye week and everyone heals back up to prove themselves. So it's going to be all hands on deck. This is going to be our Super Bowl. This is a must-win game for this team, and we know it, and we're going to prepare like it.
Jason Walker again. I want to ask about the run game where you guys are, I think, 23rd or thereabouts in the country in yards per rush, 113th in attempts per game. I know a lot of that probably has to do with the scoreline in some of the games where you have to throw the ball a bit more, but how much of an emphasis is there on getting the run game more involved and having some of that balance to take advantage of what's been an efficient run game?
Yeah, no doubt. If people want to continue to play with a light box, then we have to be able to hit home with our run. I think Coach Bassett and Coach Cefalo have done an unbelievable job of scheming some people up in our run game. But ultimately, Rasul might be one of the best running backs in the country, how he's playing right now. And you thought he looked inspired last week. Wait till he goes back home in Philadelphia and plays in front of his family. So we need to make sure that we do get him enough touches, and it can go either way, right? They want to start loading the box, and you get Jalen, Kyrese, and Brock rolling on the edges. Or if they're going to play light, right, then Rasul has a chance to have a big day. But I think if people have to prepare for both and they can't stop one, then that's an offense that's going to be very difficult for teams.
Yeah, Franson again. Just for you, you're 3 games into it now as a head coach. What are some of the biggest things you've learned and experienced just as a head coach through 3 games as a HC?
Well, probably the biggest is just making sure still being the defensive coordinator. So, being able to pass off game management duties at times so I can still help fix problems, talk to my defensive guys. First game, I got caught up too much and trying to run everything, and I got too thin. So that's why I have an unbelievable staff already in place here where I can pass some things off and delegate more so I can still remain the defensive coordinator when I have to and the head coach when I need to be. So that's the biggest thing is just time management, especially on game days.
I'll ask a follow-up on that real quick. How valuable has it been to coach against guys like Lincoln Riley, guys like Kyle Whittingham, and to kind of see how they operate within a game, and for your own learning's sake?
I think even more so with Lincoln, because he's in the same shoes. He's a head coach, but he's also the offensive coordinator. And so being able to talk to him a little bit about how to handle that, not just on game days, but consistently throughout the week. What does your planning look like, and how do you manage all of your time? That way you don't get too thin on either one, right? So that's been good. And obviously, playing Utah and Kyle, he's one of the most respected coaches in the country. And so it's fun. It's a blast. I'm enjoying every second of it. And it's an honor every day waking up as the head coach for Utah State. And ultimately, we just got to keep putting a product on the field to make this community proud, right? And doing the same so off the field.
Jason Walker again. I want to ask one last question about the offense, especially with Bryson Barnes, the way he threw the ball this last week. Faced a lot of pressure, but was able to complete a lot more passes under pressure than he did against USC. Can you talk about kind of the offensive line dealing with Utah's pressure, and then Barnes' performances, when facing that?
Well, a different game plan, right? USC, we try to get the ball out quick. Versus Utah, we really doubled down on our trust in the offensive line and had more drop back pass, more vertical passing game. And then you see a lot more plays hit, right? So, yes, Bryson played a great game and stood in the pocket and threw well, but at the same time, the offensive line worked their butts off, not just in the run game, but giving him time to work back there and time for the receivers to get open. So even more so, if our O-line can keep improving like they are, right, then we can run the ball, we can go drop back pass, and it just gives us so much more avenues to pursue. So if everyone keeps clicking like that, especially with the O-line, then it's going to be a fun offense the rest of the season.
Just kind of a follow-up to that, Mark Greenwood with the Statesman. Bryson's played really well, as you mentioned, but as you also said, Spencer's still the QB1. Do you see a scenario where you move to kind of a dual quarterback system?
I think there can be, right? I think Spencer, in my mind, is still one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and I think Bryson still has a chance to be one of the best in the Mountain West. You see how he played versus Utah, arguably one of the top defenses in the country. So with both of those guys, both of them need their reps and need their touches, and they both bring different elements, right? So you get QB run game with Bryson, and with Spencer, you get drop back, you get quicker RPOs, you get a bigger arm, maybe some more accurate deep ball stuff, which obviously plays dividends along games. So we will try to make sure. Ultimately, it's hard for teams to prepare for our offense, and that's playing two quarterbacks, and that's what we'll do.
If I could circle back on your defense, you had mentioned after the USC game, you saw a lot of good things, even though defensively you gave up 48 points. But it seemed like the team was able to expound on some of those things from USC and had a little bit more success against Utah and a couple other metrics. What are you seeing in the progression of your defense overall?
Just getting closer to doing things more consistently. We're not there yet. Like I said, if you go back and look at the scoring drives, every one of those had an explosive play. So until we eliminate explosive plays, which happens due to poor eyes and poor communication and poor alignment, right, then they're always going to get scoring drives, right, or scoring position. So once we finally get the discipline that we need on defense to be successful and compete at the highest level, we're just going to be an average defense. So that's our test this week, right, from the coaches all the way to the players, putting more pressure on ourselves to make sure I do my job and have trust in my teammates to do theirs as well.
This is Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily. Imagine it'll be a bit of a long trek, but you should be able to get some fans there, at least a closer drive than it is to Utah. Would be like maybe have some fans and supporters at this road game.
Yeah, it's a 7-hour drive for my family, so it's a little hard, but it's definitely closer than Utah. This is the closest game they can get to this year. This would be the biggest crowd that I had at any game of mine in my entire career.
Eric Franson with 106.9 The Fan. Could you comment just on the Utah game? Personally, you had 3 tackles. You had a tackle for loss, and just what you're seeing in your growth as a player in this system for Utah State.
As a player in this system, it's just week by week, day by day. It's still not perfect, and where I would want it to be at, but that just comes with time and just preparation every single day. The Utah game, it was some ups and downs. Not big on moral victories though, but we did show like what we can do once our details are on point, and that's kind of the big thing heading into the rest of the season, just being disciplined and being consistent every single play in our techniques and doing what we need to do. Defense definitely showed, like I said, some flashes. We were definitely like better than we were the week before, and that's something I really like to see, that we fought back a little better than that and at that time. But yeah, just moving forward, it's more about discipline and consistency, and everybody's been on the same page with that.
Blaine, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. I mean, just how motivated were you guys to do better against the run, especially at the beginning of that Utah game, and how gratifying was it to kind of establish yourselves at the line of scrimmage there in the first quarter?
It was extremely satisfying. That was the big key going into the game. We knew that Utah was going to come in. We knew that they are a team that loves to run the ball. So our preparation throughout the week, Coach Jolin did an amazing job with that, making sure that we were in position to stop the run. Like I said, it just comes down to consistency on our technique. Sometimes it'll be like one play where one person is just out of his assignment just by even a couple inches. That's how fragile the game is. It comes down to inches every single play.
Jason Walker again. Look, like how much motivation is there going into this game, trying to get back to 500, get to 2-2 before heading into the bye week?
Extreme motivation. It's never good coming off a loss and 2 at that. But we understand what's at stake here. We need to respond. We need to see who we are as a team, and everybody's on that page. It reiterated again, like I said, it's just about discipline and consistency, and we come in every day and we work. So, like I said, we are extremely motivated. We want to get back in this win column, and we're going to do everything we can to do that.
So one last question for me. Over the first 3 weeks, there's obviously a lot of new faces, and that's kind of the new norm of college football, but a lot of new faces on that defense. How have you guys managed to come together and kind of get on the same page? How has that progressed in these first 3 weeks?
It's progressing week by week. We have brought in extreme leaders. That's kind of how I go. You know, we communicate with each other. We spend time with each other off the field, and like you said, it's the kind of the new norm of college football. So over the last few weeks, it's been becoming more and more normal to see each other on their sides. We've been building more chemistry. We just getting used to each other's play style. You know, and through our ups, you know, that bring us closer together, and through the downs, that bring us closer together. We got a lot of leaders on this team and on this defense where we are all speaking up and letting each other know what we feel like we need to do better. We are very upfront with each other. Everybody takes accountability. Nobody takes it personal when we correct each other, and it's been going good. Like I said, day by day, we've been working hard. Now it's just the discipline and consistency that comes with it.
This Temple team looks like it's turnover prone. From a defensive player, does that get you excited about facing a team that has a hard time maintaining possession?
Absolutely. You know, we do look at those things, but at the end of the day, we must treat every opponent the same and not take anybody lightly. I do know that they have had trouble with turnovers, but that's not to say, or it's not guaranteed that they will have them this week, and that's up to us to force those turnovers. So going into practice, and that's one thing we will emphasize, is that we take nobody lightly, whether they're struggling or not. We just got to play our game and make it about us. And if we turn the ball over, which we plan to do, that'd be awesome.
Jason Walker with Cash Valley Daily. Just want to ask about, about, playing somewhere where it's so close to home, what that's going to be like for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great feeling to get back home and play in front of my family and friends, because a lot of them didn't get the chance to see me play college football in person yet because I've been out here for most of my career. So it's definitely a great feeling for sure.
Rashul, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. So I understand your dad was at the game on Saturday against Utah. First time that he's seen you in college or even in high school as well. And just second part is how much did that experience mean to you, especially since you had a big game?
Yes, that was his first time coming to see me play in person. He's been incarcerated for most of my life, so it was he finally got a chance to get out here and see me play, so that felt really good having him by my side and just showing him everything. So it was great to be able to have some success running the ball this weekend in front of him as well, for sure.
Hey, Eric Franson with 106.9 The Fan. You're familiar with the Utah football team just from your time at Snow College and here at Utah State. So how gratifying was it for you to have the type of game that you had, in addition to having your dad there?
Yeah, for sure. I knew it was gonna be tough. I knew they have a really physical defense. They're very disciplined, and I knew like we was gonna have to run the ball early to have a lot of success with them offensively. And our O-line did a very great job up front, just pushing every play, and we are staying true to what we was coached to do all week. So it was good.
Just a follow-up to that, earlier in the year, Devon says he's going to transfer. The season gets started, and then Briggs breaks his leg. And this just puts more pressure on you to kind of carry the weight in that running back room. How do you feel like you're handling that so far?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I was ready for this moment. All the things I've been coached to do all season, all the hard work I put in, I feel like I've been ready for this moment. So I feel like I'm doing a good job, and I'm going to continue to get better each and every week.
Jason Walker again. I want to ask about the kind of balance of the run and pass game. I know a couple straight games you guys have gotten down in the second half and maybe had to throw a bit more because you guys are like 23rd in the country in yards per attempt. I mean, you yourself are like 6.1 yards per carry on the season. You guys are also like 123rd, I think, in attempts per game. Is there anything are you guys trying to focus on finding that balance the rest of the season between the run and the pass?
Yeah, for sure. I just got to keep showing Coach that he could trust me with the ball in my hands, and I'm going to continue to make big plays. And as well as my O-line, we're just, building trust with our OC so he knows you could run the ball in crunch moments. And I feel like we're slowly finding a balance, and we'll continue to find it as the weeks go on.
Just one more from me. Temple, it looks like it's a team that defensively gives up a lot, but they were a lot more competitive in this last week. What do you know about them, and just historically, what do you know about them from being from there?
Yeah, when I was growing up in high school, they were actually really good. They had P.J. Walker, the running back Thomas. They were top 25 in the nation at a point. So, and that's when Matt Rule was there. So I know them as being really well, and we're not gonna overlook them from what they put on film the last few weeks, because every week is a different week, and we weren't the best team the last couple of weeks. So we're sure they're not gonna overlook us as well. So we just got to come in here and practice really hard, be very disciplined, be very coachable this week, and continue to trust each other. And I feel like we'll have a lot of success on Saturday.